Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. And as you can see, we've added a brand new addition to the desk, and that's 23 sports analyst Thomas Maurer to discuss the exciting week that was in college football. Thomas, can you believe the regular season is already almost over? It's November.
It's crazy. It's like it hasn't even started, but it's getting down there, getting down to the wire. I'm excited to see what some of these good teams have to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we just got back to school. College football just got underway, but before you know it, it will be over and bowl games will be starting. But Thomas, let's jump right into things. We'll start in the Big 12, where we saw TCU fall for the first time this year, leaving Baylor and Oklahoma State as the remaining undefeated teams. Which team do you think has the edge as we enter the final month of play?
The team I think that has the edge for this game, I think it's going to be Baylor. You look at the talent that they got, 14th ranked running back in the league in terms of rushing, and Shock Linwood, 1,100 yards this year. Seth Russell at quarterback. He's got 29 touchdowns, 2,000 yards. But you got to credit a lot of their talent. You got to credit a lot of their gameplay to the offensive line. The big boys up front are getting the push. They've put up 50-plus points on 6 of the 8 teams they've played this year. Out of those 6 games, 3 of those games they've put 65-plus. They're just lighting up the scoreboard. They're unbelievable to watch. I think the talent that they got is too big, and I think they're going to take this one in the Big 12.
Yeah, absolutely. But they have the nation's best offense for a reason. Losing Seth Russell will be a big task to overcome for this Baylor team. But Baylor Jarrett did have a very impressive game, throwing for 419 yards in his first game as the starter in their win last week. So I really can't take away the faith that I have in this Baylor team.
I think it has to do more with Oklahoma State. I know these guys had a huge win over TCU, but really that defense was doomed from the start. I mean, Trevon Boykin was their entire team, and that was exploited by Oklahoma State. But Oklahoma State, the reason they're undefeated, they're just most consistent. They haven't had that bad loss, which is credible. They'll get a good bowl game, but I don't think they should be in the discussion for one of the top teams. Heck, they almost lost to Kansas. That is saying something. We'll see if they can live up to their record here in the next few weeks. But now we're going to move on to another conference, that's the SEC, where the marquee matchup this weekend was LSU and Alabama, with the Crimson Tide cruising to their 8th victory. After such a statement win, can anyone knock off Alabama before the end of the regular season?
You know what amazes me about this team? Coach Saban. I think the craziest thing is that every year he can just put an amazing team, championship caliber team on the year every single season. I think they're too loaded. I don't think anyone's going to beat them. I think LSU had their opportunity. I think LSU had the chance to take them down, but I don't think it's going to happen. You look at their last 3 games, Mississippi State, Charleston, Southern, and Auburn. The only team I see on there that might give them a game is Auburn. The only reason why is because it's the Iron Bowl. They got the intensity under the lights. We'll see what they can do there, but they're not going to stick with them more than 2 quarters. Plus, you got Derrick Henry, Heisman candidate, O-line just pushing everyone around. #1 defensive team in terms of stopping the run. I think that the Alabama Crimson Tide are going to get to the SEC championship. I think they're going to take on Florida. I think they're going to win, and you better watch out for them in college football.
Absolutely. I don't think you're giving enough credit, though, to Mississippi State. That's who their next matchup is going to be, and I don't think Mississippi State can stop Derrick Henry by any means. But the way Dak Prescott has been playing lately, I know this Alabama run defense is very good, but their pass defense, I think it is susceptible if Prescott and that Mississippi State team can play, their best game of the year, because their losses are to both top 20 teams. I think the Bulldogs aren't necessarily a matchup that Alabama will steamroll. It's in Mississippi State. That could be a possible upset alert if there is one. But I agree with you. They're definitely the team to beat in the SEC.
I like that you mentioned the Alabama's defense, because they have had such a successful run so far this season. But to be able to go the rest of the way, that defense is going to need to be able to continue what they've been doing. Because we all know Derrick Henry leading that offense is pretty much unstoppable. But if Alabama is going to go down, it is going to be because of that defense. And Thomas, I like that you talked about that Auburn game, because the way that Auburn has played this season, nobody's really looking to that as a big matchup. But you can argue that that's Auburn's playoff game right there, going up against Alabama. Everything they've done this season comes down to that game, because they haven't put themselves into a position that anything else will really matter.
Exactly. I like how you said it's their playoff game. Even if they don't have a good year, it's still going to be their Super Bowl. If they win, it's going to determine if they have a successful year or not. Like you said, Auburn hasn't been very strong this year. Auburn hasn't lived up to what they were expected to be. But if they can beat Alabama, if they can take them out, if they can get them away from being in the college football playoff, that's a big deal. I still don't think I like what you said about Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State, great team. Don't want to just look by them, but just the performance that they put against LSU, holding Leonard Fournette to 31 yards, that's pretty insane. So I think Auburn's got the talent. I think they do have talent. I think Mississippi State does have talent, but I still think Alabama, too big of a team, too much of a legacy. They're going to steamroll right through these last 3 games, and I think they'll get their way to the SEC championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone knows the SEC is absolutely crazy. Any team can win on any given Saturday. But now we are going to move out west to the Pac-12, where 2 teams have separated themselves from the rest. That is Stanford and Utah. At the end of the year, who do you think we will see atop the Pac-12?
You know what? I think it's going to come down to experience. I think you look at both teams. Utah definitely surprised a lot of us this year. Did not think Utah was going to be a top caliber team like they are this year. I think if you look at Stanford, they just have too much experience, way too much experience. You look at Christian McCaffrey, 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns. At first they looked, they lost their first game against Northwestern, but they've been playing their best set of football for the rest of the year. You look at Utah, and they're playing great football, and like, wow, look at Utah, they're going to take it over. And then, boom, USC stomp rolls them. So you never really know with Utah. I think Utah's an up-and-down team. I don't think they're necessarily going to be as top dog as Stanford. I think Stanford has too much talent. They have too much experience. I see them coming out on top in the Pac-12.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that. And the Pac-12 is similar to the SEC in that same style, that anybody can win on any Saturday. And Stanford will end the season with a matchup against Notre Dame, which won't affect too much in the Pac-12, but that game is going to show if Stanford really is for real, if they're going to be able to compete with the Fighting Irish.
What I like about Stanford is they can really play any type of game. A shootout or a defensive standout, they really have. Both sides of the ball can step up. That defensive line with Solomon Thomas, Nate Lone, they definitely, I think, can compete with Notre Dame, and if they win that game, watch out for them in the college football playoff. But finally, we're going to cap things off in the Big Ten, where Ohio State survived this weekend. But then Michigan State, they did lose to Nebraska, joining Michigan as one of the Big Ten's one-loss teams. However, Ohio State's next 2 games are against those Spartans and the Wolverines. Thomas, do you think the Buckeyes can survive the final few weeks unscathed?
You know what worries about me, this team? I think they have too many questions at quarterback. You look at J.T. Barrett with his off-the-field issues. Is that going to hurt his game on the field? You look at Cardale Jones. Jones, what he did last year, is that going to, does that have any factor into whether he's going to take over the role? Can Ezekiel Elliott, we all know how great he is. We've all seen what he can do. Can he carry this team? I think Ohio State, being a great team that they are, I think that they've had too many shaky games. You look at Michigan, what they've done, being 5-7 last year in 2014. You can see that the energy and the intensity that Harbaugh has brought to this team. They've only lost 2 games, but one of the games that they lost really shouldn't have been a loss. Michigan State, they squeezed out with the win there. I don't see Michigan being a low-caliber team like they are. I honestly think they should be ranked probably in the top 10. But we'll see what happens. I think Ohio State being a great team. I think Michigan being at home that last game of the year, the intensity that Harbaugh brings, like we said, I think Michigan's going to squeeze out a win. I think it's probably going to ruin Ohio State's season. So we'll see what happens. But I'm looking to see Michigan pull out a win against Ohio State.
We'll see, and we can't forget about Iowa. They're also undefeated. The Big Ten, I think, this year is they're a very deep conference, and we'll see if these teams, the best games are at the end of the year. That's how they design it. We'll see what really these teams are made of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know which of the 2 teams Ohio State is going to lose to, but I'll tell you it's going to be one of them. They are not getting out of those 2 games without a loss. But Thomas, that is all the time we have for this segment. Thank you for coming on. However, do not go anywhere, because when we come back from break, we will tell you everything you need to watch for in the upcoming week in sports. Stay tuned.